It was a summer day in 2011 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. A man, 34 years old, named Rodrick Shonte Dantzler, was reaching a breaking point. His life had been marked by turbulence, past relationships filled with threats, legal entanglements, struggles with mental health and substance use, but nothing in his record prepared anyone for what he was about to do. It began mid-afternoon on July 7th. A call came from his mother. Dantzler had phoned, saying he had harmed his estranged wife. Police responded. They found nothing at his home. But then came the first horror. At a house on Plainfield Avenue Northeast, a woman named Amanda Emkins, her sister Kimberly, and Amanda's 10-year-old daughter Marisa were found dead. Kimberly had once been Dantzler's girlfriend, but they were no longer together. Shortly after, at another address on Brunel Court, another home became a scene of devastation. His estranged wife, Jennifer Heron, their 12-year-old daughter Camry, and Jennifer's parents, Thomas and Rebecca Heron, were discovered among the victims. It was clear that this was not random. It was personal. Over the next hours, Dantzler drove through the city, firing into cars, putting strangers in fear. One man was hit but survived. Others escaped with more than just physical scars, trauma that would last. Police pursuit followed. Dantzler abandoned his car, then carjacked another. Hostages were taken later in a home not connected to any of his personal relationships. As night deepened, the city waited, breath held. By late evening, after hours of standoff, the chase, the hostages, and the fear, Rodrick Dantzler turned the weapon on himself. In a house on Rickman Avenue Northeast, with officers negotiating and lives at risk, the spree ended not with justice, but tragedy. He died by his own hand. In the days that followed, people tried to understand what drove him to this point. Witnesses spoke of his past: court orders, arrests, arguments with his wife, threats, mental health issues, sometimes untreated, possibly inflamed by substance use. Days before the event, his wife had been preparing to separate from him. The city mourned. Families laid loved ones to rest. News cameras and police tapes surrounded houses. Neighbors wondered, could anything have stopped this? Were the warning signs there? What role did Dantzler's mental and emotional distress play? And how many lives did it change with a single day of decisions made in pain? Dantzler's rampage didn't just produce headlines. It left scars on families, on survivors, on a community forced to reckon with how close someone's breaking point can bring violence into ordinary life. In every memorial, every vigil, there remains the question of prevention, how society responds to those at risk, and whether the tragedies of the past might teach something to prevent the tragedies of tomorrow. A woman named Denise Labbé was born on March 17, 1926, in France. By 13, she lost her parents and found herself orphaned, trying to find her place in a world that suddenly felt unstable. She worked as a typist in Rennes. She had a young daughter, Catherine, born from a previous relationship. Life was difficult, but she tried to make it home. Then came a man who would change everything: Jacques Algaron, some years younger than Denise. A philosophy student drawn to the work of Nietzsche, especially the idea of a Superman. He and Denise became involved. But Jacques carried ideas that were dangerous and extreme. He didn't just love her. He expected something from her. Proof, sacrifice. Their relationship became tense, steps beyond romance. Jacques began demanding that Denise prove her devotion, not through words or gestures, but through escalation. He challenged her multiple times. One version of their conflict involved him asking her to do things uncomfortable, impossible even. He told her to kill her own daughter, Catherine. Denise did not agree at first. She tried at least twice, not succeeding. Once she attempted to drop Catherine from a window. Another time, she pushed the child into a canal. Catherine survived those attempts. Denise felt torn between fear, shame, love, and something darker driving her forward. but by November 8th, 1954, the pressure proved too great. On that day, Denise Labbé drowned Catherine in a wash basin. She later told police she did it because she believed it was the only way to prove her love for Jacques. That love and their twisted unity required the ultimate sacrifice. Catherine was just 2 years old. The same day, Denise was arrested. She did not hide what happened. She confessed, telling the full story. Her earlier failed attempts, Jacques' urging, her love mixed with fear. Jacques was arrested too, charged not for physically committing the act, but for provoking it. The trial began on May 30th, 1955. The public followed every twist. A courtroom filled with sorrow, disbelief, and fury. Denise stood, asked to be understood. Her love, her desperation. Experts tried to unravel how far she was responsible versus how much she was manipulated. Jacques' role was scrutinized. How much did his ideology, his demands, his pressure push her there? In 1956, Denise was sentenced to life penal servitude, life in prison, for her crime. Jacques Algaron was sentenced to 20 years of hard labor for his part in provoking her. It was a setting of justice, but one that left many unsettled. Was the punishment enough? Could the outcome have been different if help, love, or intervention had come sooner? After the verdict, Denise's life was never the same. She knew she had lost a child, not only in the legal sense, but in her heart. She carried that beyond prison bars. The story lives on in debate about love, obsession, influence, how someone can be persuaded or coerced into doing what seems unthinkable when their feelings are twisted, when the line between devotion and self-dissolution is blurred. In Memphis, Tennessee, in 1892, there was a young woman named Alice Mitchell, aged 19, who believed she had found something rare: love with another young woman named Frida Ward, who was 17. They met at school, spent time together, and shared hopes, letters, tender moments. For Alice, Frida was everything. Their love was more than friendship. It was a quiet rebellion. They spoke of eloping, of escaping judgment, of presenting themselves as married with Frida, calling Alice by a shared name. Alice dressed in men's clothes, planned with earnest devotion, but Frida's family put a stop to it. They changed her address, forbidden contact, interrupted their plans. That rejection didn't just hurt. For Alice, it broke something inside. The winter of 1892 felt heavy with tension. Alice grew restless. She carried a razor. She wrote Frida letters full of passion and despair. She spoke of marriage, of promises made and broken. The silence from Frida's side, family pressure, distance, fear, grew louder every day. Then came January 25th, 1892, a gray, cold afternoon. Alice saw her chance. Frida was walking with her sister Jo and a friend. Alice approached in a buggy with Lily Johnson and a young nephew. She stepped out, walked up behind them, with purpose. Without many words, she pulled out the razor and attacked. Frida tried to run. Jo tried to defend her. Lily and others saw as Alice caught up and fatally wounded Frida. The violent act shattered lives in seconds. The community was stunned. Newspaper headlines called it unnatural, shocking, impossible. The trial became a national spectacle, not just about a killing, but about love, identity, and society's limits of acceptance. Was this jealousy, obsession, a mind unraveling under the pressure of unrequited love and rejection? At court, Alice pleaded present insanity. Witnesses spoke of her restless behavior, headaches, periods of tremor, and emotional extremes. Experts discussed her mental state, whether her love for Frida, her plans to elope, her years of rejection had pushed her beyond what could be contained by societal norms of the time. The jury reached a verdict. Alice Mitchell was found insane. She was committed to a psychiatric hospital, the Western State Hospital for the Insane in Bolivar, Tennessee. instead of prison. She would never face a criminal sentence in the usual sense. Alice lived there for the rest of her life. She never left. She died in 1898, around the age of 25. Some reports said disease took her. Others whispered of deeper suffering. She never reunited with friendship. The love she believed in ended in tragedy. This isn't just a story about a murdered young woman. It's about a love that dared to be tender in a world that denied it space. About how rejection of promises, identity, selfhood can lead someone to heartbreak so great that their actions break through the boundaries of law and pain. It echoes still in conversations about mental health, about LGBTQ history, about how society treats love that doesn't fit its molds.